The price of freedom. You'll hear that referenced in society, that freedom comes with a price. So depending on the context of the conversation, that's going to define what the price is you pay. But for this video, we're talking about the price of freedom to live full-time on the road as a nomad. The freedom of having no attachments with regards to rent, mortgage, utility bills, being confined to go back to a certain area. It's a level of freedom to be able to travel, drift, and wander at will. Few people will get to that level where they live full-time on the road with little to no attachments. I live out of one bag in the back of my Jeep Renegade, and that's the scenario for me. I pretty much have as much freedom as you can have living full-time in a vehicle, especially after I obtained a remote position, meaning I can work anywhere where there is internet. And so living on the road, what you find is the freedom is a real thing. And it does eliminate some of the anxieties and the worries of life. Because I've lived a conforming life where you go back to a house or an apartment every day, and the monotony of going to the same supermarkets, and it seems like the internet company is always jacking up the internet, taxes always go up. Once in a while you have an issue with your neighbor. It's just always something, you know, and it becomes aggravating. And you want freedom, you're tired of all the obligation. So you hit the road. If you get over the hurdle of fear, many people don't end up hitting the road, but if you hit the road, and after you've got past the initial excitement of no more major commitments and you have achieved freedom, what you find is there's a price. There's a price to pay to have this freedom. What is the price? The price is you're never settled. And so after the initial rush of being detached, if you aren't mentally disciplined, if you don't have a level of structure in your mind, not being settled and not having a specific area to go back to, over a period of time it will wear on your mind and it will maybe cause you harm mentally, because there's something to be said to have a sanctuary to go back to. So that's the first major area that you do pay a price. It's not just all good. You pay a price living full-time on the road, your freedom. The number two way you pay a price living on the road as a nomad is if you live in a car or van, you have no heating and you have no air conditioning. There's things you can do to supplement it, fans, different things you rig up for heating or cooling, but you are not in an apartment or house where you have regular air conditioning and regular heating. I spent 2 winters in New Jersey living without heat in my car, and that was when I was static, when I had to go back to an office job every day, and it was very tough at times. I had a goal, I had a passion to get past it, but I got also very sick living in my car, and it's a very scary feeling when you get sick living in your car. And when you're faced with adverse weather conditions over a period of time, winters are a little bit longer, living in your car, it could play tricks on your mind. In the summer, I'm going on my second summer now, pretty much living in my car in Florida, and the heat, to be honest with you, the heat's not that much different than what it was in New Jersey in the summer. It's a little bit more humid, but not, for me, it's not that bad, to be honest with you. I mean, there's days that are a little bit bad here and there, but I don't know. I guess too, because I prefer the heat more than the cold. I think it's harder to live in the cold at night when you talk about extreme cold in the winter than it is the heat during the summer. Because in the summer, at night, once the sun goes down, temperatures drop a little bit. If you're by the ocean, it'll be a little bit cooler. And with a fan circulating air, it'll still be hot, you're still gonna sweat, but it's not unbearable, at least for me. The price is lack of conveniences, lack of comfort. I would say overall, I'm comfortable sleeping in my car. I've rigged it up after the initial phase of trying different things. I've rigged it up. And it is comfortable. It's like a little cocoon back there at night. But getting to the location you're going to park every night, that's also a sacrifice of freedom. Whether you go to campground, truck stop, Walmart, the constant movement, that's the price you pay for freedom. The wear and tear on your car and on your mind of always being on the move. The balance of that, I understand, is like when we live a conforming life, you're never on the move, you're bored. So the key is always trying to find balance. But I would say, if I had to list the top 3 things where you pay a price living on the road, number 1 is you are always a little bit unsettled because you don't have one specific area that you know is etched out for you. Number 2 is the weather conditions. When they're extreme, and that's usually in the summer and the winter. The fall and the spring are the best times to live out of a vehicle. Why? Because those are the most moderate temperatures. So the weather conditions, especially if you don't have an RV, they're going to be the number 2 price that you pay for freedom dealing with them. And number 3 is when you do get sick, okay? Physically sick, cold, or you hurt yourself. It's a little bit scary to be on the road, not to have anywhere to go back to. How do you deal with that? You get a hotel room, you may have to rent an Airbnb for a period of time. You can stay at a campground if you can make it in your car. But it's a little bit odd, being sick and not having all the conveniences of a home and an apartment. So again, you may have to do a hotel or a short-term rental. So as someone who's lived on the road for a few years now, a couple years, whatever it's been, there's a lot of freedom, and I have a tough time buying a home base because I realize I will sacrifice a level of my freedom and flexibility, and it's a blessing to have. It really is. I mean, it's a joyous thing if you have your health, your age, your wherewithal, and if you can deal with the price to pay for freedom, some of the things that I've just mentioned. And the things I've just mentioned, the prices that you pay for freedom, living full-time in a vehicle, what I can tell you is initially you'll be willing to deal with them because you're getting that rush of freedom. Freedom's almost a drug. But over a period of time, just like water torture is just water. It's not like a chainsaw, but it's the fact that water drips on your head day in, day out for days. And over a period of time, that water dripping on your head, it basically causes you to go insane. And so sometimes you may feel like living on the road, dealing with the things I've mentioned, not that I want to compare it necessarily to water torture, but I do want to make the comparison is that over time, even something that seems small, right? Whether it's water or having to move a lot or never being settled or dealing with weather, even if that seems small to you, over a period of time, it's going to wear on you, okay? You're going to get road weary. And it could feel like a level of mental torture and even physical, again, depending on the situation. So that's some insight that I think would help you on your journey. Would I still hit the road, live full-time in a vehicle? Yes. If I was where I was at 2 years ago and I wanted to reposition my life, downsize my life, change states, yes. So it does depend on what you want to accomplish and why you're doing it. You have to have an end goal. You have to have an exit strategy. So, you have to understand that, nothing lasts forever. So, just be mindful of that, some thoughts, some insight that may help you along your journey. Peace and love. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please take the effort to click the thumbs up button, share the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love.